Okay, so today's tiny little project is, this is a switch that was basically for a pool pump, but the pool's gone and the pumps are all gone. And so what I'm going to do is get it out of the middle of the floor and run it over to the wall, one way or the other. Haven't decided yet. The first thing you're going to need when you're dealing with electricity, you want to make sure you turn off the breaker to the wire to make sure there's no electricity. You're going to use a basically voltage tester or voltage detector. Turn it on, and if you put it on there and it doesn't light up, then that means there's no voltage. Now I always take this and I turn it on, make sure I know how to operate it, test it with an existing outlet that I know has power, by plugging in an appliance, and make sure that it actually does work before you test it. That way you know when it doesn't light up, there's no electricity there. So I'm pretty sure, about this breaker, and I've already tested this with an outlet indoors, so I'm going to go ahead and start working on dismantling this. So I'm going to take these screws out. Looks like there's a screw in here. I'll have to disconnect the wiring. I'll hook back up when I show you that. Step by step, you have to take these two screws out, and you get the cover or the faceplate off. It has a little seal, foam seal there, keep water and bugs, I guess, out. And then you have the actual switch itself, so you have two more screws right here. And then once I get that out, I'll show you how to disconnect the wires. This is interesting because that green screw right there is actually the ground screw, and this is not grounded, which is surprising, I guess. I don't know. Anyway. Okay, so you can see I got the faceplate off. It's just had two screws in there, and then a little seal, I guess, to weatherproof it, even though it's in a building. And then the switch, had two screws here and here. So now I'm just going to pull this down, and I'm going to unscrew all the wires and disconnect them from this little switch, because my goal is to move all this and put an outlet in its place on the wall. Okay, so you can see now with all the wires loose, you've got black and white that goes to black and white, and you've got a green wire that's a ground wire. So next, you're probably going to need some other tools. I'm going to have basically, this is which basically scores the pipe until it cuts clean through. You're also going to need some wire strippers of some sort. These are terrible, but you could also use a knife to strip the sheathing off the wire, but this makes it easier if you've got a good set of these. Keep in mind, nobody ever taught me how to do this, so this is the way I figured things out myself. Basically, you're going to put this on the pipe where you want to cut it, and you're going to tighten this little T-handle down until it's snug, and then you're going to start moving that around the pipe. So you can see it's just basically cutting into the pipe right there, the conduit. And you do that, and just keep tightening your T on the end until it cuts through. And I don't want to cut the wires, so I've got to be careful not to go too deep into the pipe. I've got a nice clean cut. I did scrape my tool up a little bit there because I wanted to get it as close to the floor as possible. So now I've got this, and I've got to get the rest of this apart however I can. So I'm going to do a little demo. I am concentrating on this, and I look up as I get up, and I jump about 5 feet back because look what is sitting in the corner. I'm lucky that when I moved the pallet, I did not get bit. Very lucky. Here we are again, and I basically have decided to use this junction box, which was about $3, and I'm going to basically put that junction box right there on the ground, and I'll cut my cable off so that I can join it to the new cable inside this box, which it's not totally ideal, but it'll keep it closer to the ground than using what I was originally going to use, which is a sweeping 90-degree bend. That'll be off the ground. Actually, I haven't totally 100% decided yet, so I'm going to kind of decide before I cut that off. I changed my 3/4 inch PVC, which was the wrong size, for a 1/2 inch. And the next thing I'm going to do is trail the fittings to kind of make sure I got the right lengths. A few other things that I got from the store. I actually picked up some of these 1/2 inch 2-hole straps that I can secure the conduit on the 2x4. That is the frame on the... Alright, so this is a little thing with cutting the pipe when it's not secured to anything. If you prop the T-handle up on the floor, take both hands and just turn it with your hands. The T-handle will keep the cutter stable. Okay, so sort of anticlimactic at this point, but basically I did decide to use this piece right here. So I just cut my pipe so that this fit on the part that sticks up right here out of the concrete, and then it's easiest to thread your wire with the pipe in pieces, so you can thread it all through and then put the pieces together after that, and then adjust the length of your cable so that you're not wasting a total. I probably am wasting too much right there, but basically you have to thread the cable through before and have all your parts in the right order. So I have this little, well, I guess you call it a junction box, and then I have a straight piece of pipe, and then I go to a sweeping 90, and then I go to my last piece of 1/2 inch conduit up to a fitting that I had before that screws into that electrical box, which is where I'm going to put my switch. I think this is going to work. So again, I'm going to put this down and basically match my wires up, black to black, white to white. Okay, so a couple of things. This is the wire that comes out of the ground and goes to who knows where. I didn't do that electrical. But because it goes in the ground, I want to leave it as long as I possibly can. This is the new wire, and so I'm going to shorten it to the point where I can fit all of that in here and work out. But stripping these wires, not super experienced with this, but I do have, I did use a knife, and be careful because I just cut myself because this one's a little sharper than I thought. But the middle wire is the ground that doesn't have any kind of jacket on it. And the other two have white and black. So it's okay if you know, when you're trying to split these apart, I think, if you get it against this wire, but you don't want to strip these too far because you're going to actually connect them here using these little caps. So you don't want a bunch of bare wire showing. In case you're wondering, to clip, this wire cutter is really good because it's heavy duty. This one is like a needle nose snips with a little wire cutter at the base there. You can see it. So I mean, these are actually capable of cutting this wire if you just get it in there and just press hard. But these are much easier because they're more heavy duty for bigger wire. That's how I initially cut the big jacketed cable wires using the big snips. So I'm back, and I just wanted to note that I had to change wire because I got down to the point where I was joining these and I noticed they were different sizes, and I didn't think that was right. So I had 14 and I needed 12 to match this, so I had to go back and unconnect everything or disconnect everything and pull the wire again. I'm to the point now where I use my wire strippers. I've got the tips of the jackets pulled off on these two, so I can basically put them side by side and use the twist cap to connect them. But I honestly don't think all of this is going to fit in this tiny little box, so I'm going to probably cut this down a little bit more before I do that. So I suggest using needle nose pliers to bend your wire, or you'll have some really sore hands. Wire management, just getting your wires bent to where they're kind of lined up, you know, black ground, and white so that when you go to put these twist caps on, it'll be a little bit easier. So like this wire has to be beside this one in order for me to find the right size twist cap to go on the top. Finish stuffing all of these in here. I just wanted to say, with respect to the caps, they don't really fit, I think. So the last step is to put the outlet in the box. I've already got my wire jacket off, and I've just got to strip the ends of the black, the white, and the copper, which is the ground wire. The outlet looks like this, and basically it's kind of, I want to say dummy proof because electricity is never dummy proof, but it does tell you where to put the black and the white lines. I will say that I have encountered ones in this house that don't always fit that, so I usually use my voltage tester to test which one is hot and which one is not. But I'm so far from the breaker, way up in the house, that I'm just going to go with black as hot and hope that that's right, and if not, then I'll fix it. So anyway, that's going to be next. So one thing I would note is it really isn't a good idea to do what I did and bend the wires in a curve before you get them on the screw, because it's hard to get it on. There is an easier outlet where you can actually just stick the straight wire in the back of the outlet. I think those are a little more expensive. This is the kind where you just wrap the wire around the screw and then you screw it down. So I always wrap it so that it curves in the direction of the turn when you close it, which is clockwise. That way you're not unwrapping it when you're turning the screw, if that makes any sense at all. But that seems to work better for me. I already have the ground, the bare copper wire around the ground screw to the metal box that I'm using. And now I'm gonna try to work on getting the white wire on there. Don't forget to put black where it says black hot and white where it says white neutral. So that's my finished product. Got a few things. I want to come back and bracket it better to the wall because it does move a little bit. My screws aren't long enough. I did put an outside cover on it, and basically, you know, once you get it wired, you're just screwing the outlet into the box, and you're then screwing the faceplate on with a little seal around it to protect it. One thing I will say with electricity, I'm definitely not a professional, or I don't even know if I qualify as an amateur, but be really careful with electricity. Make sure you test it before you start messing around with it. And then, you know, I have had things happen, you know, not major because I'm super careful. What I'm trying to say is don't be afraid to try something on your own, but know your limits. We do have a working outlet. I just got a nightlight to test it, and it's all good. So, good to go.